In this lesson, we'll learn how to bring files into Illustrator that may have been created in another application. Alright, now to say that Illustrator is just a program for creating vector graphics is really not going to give Illustrator its full due. Really, we can do so much more with Illustrator. We can actually bring in files from other programs and either modify them or include them in our vector project here in Illustrator. Now let me go ahead and show you how to do that. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this artboard here. I have a pretty standard document. It's 8.5 by 11 landscape, and I have two artboards in that size. So pretty standard little document here, and I'm going to go ahead and open up a panel that we're going to use here. If you don't have this open, it's under Window and Links. And we're going to see this links panel here. Now, there's a few different types of objects that we can open up in Illustrator or place into Illustrator. Now, the first type of file is going to be your text-based file. Now, this is a file that may be created in a word processing application like Microsoft Word, for example. Now, let me go ahead and show you how we'd go about bringing that file into Illustrator. I'm going to come up here to my File drop-down and choose Place. And I'm going to browse through the project files for this course, and I'm going to look for this 58 sample text Word document here. Now you have this file in your project files as well, so go ahead and place that into your Illustrator file, and we're going to go ahead and get this Microsoft Word Options dialog. Now this is going to ask us if we want to include a table of contents text, footnotes and endnotes, and index text if our Microsoft Word file has that information. This file actually does not, so there's another option here to remove text formatting, and if we want to strip this text of all the formatting that Word's done to it, we can remove that by clicking this box. Let's go ahead and just leave that the way it is and hit OK on this, and let's take a look at what Illustrator does with this text file. Now, notice here that nothing appears in our links file, but we do have a new text frame on our artboard here, and it's an area text frame. We know that because there is a large amount of text here that actually is too large for this frame, and we can see that based on this little red plus in the corner. Now we could come in here and actually resize this text frame, or we could link it to another text frame if we wanted to see all the text. So you can really see how a text-based document is handled when it's brought into Illustrator. We just have a new text frame here with that text in it. So you know what, that's not the only type of file that we can bring into Illustrator though. Let's go ahead and delete this text frame for right now. Let's go ahead and hit backspace with that selected, and we'll delete that. Now, another type of file that we can bring into Illustrator here is an image file. I'm going to go ahead and show you one way to bring an image file into Illustrator here. Now, we looked at File, Place to bring in files, but I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and open up a Windows Explorer menu here, or Windows Explorer window, and I'm looking for this Woody's Sketch.psd file, 58 Woody's Sketch. Now, we can actually either go File, Place, and browse to that file, or we could just simply drag that right into our Illustrator window. And let me go ahead and minimize this Explorer window here. Now you can see here that we have brought in a new instance of this file. Let me just zoom in on it here. We know this is an instance because if we look up here in our links panel, we'll notice here that there's this empty area to the right of the file name, indicating that this is actually a healthy instance of this linked file. Now I'm calling this an instance because if we were to save this file and send it to somebody else, if we don't send them this .psd file that we've linked to, then this is going to be a broken link in their Illustrator file. They're going to actually need both of those files. Now, we can actually choose to embed this file into our Illustrator document, but we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Let's go ahead and walk through a little bit of this links interface. Now, we've got some buttons down here at the bottom of this interface. Let me go ahead and select our link here. We have the first one is to relink your file. So if, for instance, we had changed this file's location on our hard drive, after we had placed it into this Illustrator file, it would then show up as a broken link. Now, a broken link in this case would actually be a missing file, and that little icon would show up as a little stop sign icon right here to the right of the file. We might also see a little triangle come up, a little yellow triangle with an exclamation point in it. That icon is going to tell us that the linked file has actually been modified since we last placed it into Illustrator, meaning changes have been made to it. So in either of those cases, we're going to need these buttons down here at the bottom. We can choose this relink button to browse to a new copy of this file, maybe if it's changed locations. This second button here is to go to the link. Now, if we have a large document with several linked files in it, we may have problems finding a specific link. By selecting the link here in the links panel and hitting this go to link button, Illustrator will actually center up on that specific link and locate that within our document. So this this third button here is to update the link. Maybe there's been changes to that file. Maybe we have that little triangle with the exclamation point indicating that the file's been updated. We need to relink that file, so we would just come over here and update that link. Now, this fourth option here is to edit the original. Now, I want to go ahead and focus on this one. Being that this is a native Photoshop file, it's a .psd file, we can actually click this button right here to launch Photoshop and edit this file. So I tell you what, let me go ahead and just click on this link right here, and we will actually open Photoshop and edit this file. Alright, now you can see here that Illustrator has launched Photoshop and opened our Woody's logo sketch here in Photoshop. So let's go ahead and make a change to this file. Remember, we've already placed this file into Illustrator, so let's make a change to it. I've actually got a hidden layer here that's going to adjust the hue saturation of our sketch. So let's go ahead and reveal that layer here in Photoshop, and let's go ahead and save those changes to our file. We'll go to File, Save. And now that we've done that, let's go ahead and close out of Photoshop here. Alright, now as soon as we return to Illustrator, let's go ahead and click on our artboard here. We're going to notice that Illustrator is going to give us a warning indicating that some files are missing or modified in the links panel. Would I like to correct those now? I want to go ahead and hit no on this right now so I can show you what happens to our links panel. You can see here that we received this little exclamation point in the yellow triangle indicating that that file has changed since we brought it in. So let's go ahead and click on this. Let's go ahead and hit this Update Link button. And you can see that Illustrator is going to go to the original file location and look for that file again and reinsert it into our document. So we've updated that link. So I tell you what, let's come down here now and let's place in another file here. I've got a second artboard. Let's go ahead and go to File, Place. And this time, let's go ahead and choose this JPEG right here, this 58 barbecue JPEG. Alright, now that's a pretty large file, much larger than our artboard, so I'm just going to shrink that down here. And we're going to fit that to our artboard. Okay, so we've placed in this photograph, and it's some really yummy looking barbecue. So let's go ahead and say that we actually make changes to this document. Let me go ahead and pull up my Windows Explorer menu here, or my Windows Explorer window, and let's find that file, and let's rename this. I'm going to go ahead and rename that file and just change the case of barbecue here. We're going to see how Illustrator reacts. Minimize that here and come back over to Illustrator. Well, I tell you what, not the result I expected, so let's come over here and look at our Windows Explorer window again, and I tell you what, let's just delete this file. Now this file will be included with your project file so you can play with it as well, but I'm going to go ahead and delete it for right now and come back over to Illustrator, and there's the dialog I was looking for. Some files are missing or modified in the links panel. Would you like to update them? And I'm going to say no. And there you see the other type of icon. We're going to get that stop sign, and that's indicating that we have a missing file that we've linked to. I tell you what, let me go ahead and move that file back over into that directory. I have that here saved to my desktop. Let's go ahead and show our Windows Explorer window, and we'll just drag that right back in there. Coming back to Illustrator, and let's let Illustrator update the file. And there we go. That link is healthy and whole again. Now, let's go ahead and embed this file into our Illustrator document. Now, remember that embedding this is actually going to make the file larger, but let's go ahead and embed that now. We've actually embedded that into our Illustrator document. You can see based on this icon right here that it is now inserted into our Illustrator document, and we don't have to include an additional file if we were to send this to somebody. So you can see how Illustrator brings files from other applications in, so with that, now we are able to modify these or include these in our own designs. So in the next lesson, we're going to continue on talking about files from other applications and learn about the live tracing features in Illustrator.